Welcome to RPG Elite, where we put the RP back into RPG, giving you tools, tips, and tutorials on how to make your RPG experience more immersive and enjoyable. If this is your first time coming to the channel, I want to go ahead and thank you. And for all you returning folks, peeps, and leets, thank you as well. Today, we're going to deviate a little bit from the norm of what we do on this channel. You guys know that I like to talk about RPG Elite philosophy and those things that are tied to our RPGs. And in doing so, we get into other territories that just may not fall directly into tools, tips, and tutorials, but more in the philosophical side of things. And this kind of falls in line with that. Now, I know if you saw the thumbnail, you're probably wondering, what is this dude getting ready to talk about? It might seem a little clickbaity, but it's not, because we're actually going to get deep into this particular subject. I like to think about these things from an RPG community perspective, and I like to go where most, if not all, fear to tread, because, well, these are things that we just at least need to think about and discuss, even if it's on a small scale. Now, before you get bent out of shape, I want you to go and watch the whole video. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that, yeah, I'm probably going to say something in this video that is going to offend some people. This will be the video that I may get people unsubscribing. And I know the question is that, man, you just, you had the milestone, and why would you even, go there? Well, I'm going there because this is something that needs to be talked about, and it's something that I think that if we're going to be honest with ourselves and among ourselves, something that needs to be addressed. Now, my opinion on this might be a little strong for folks, and that's fine, because it'll make you squirm a little bit, but understand something, all right? I'm not saying these things just to make you squirm. But I'm an individual. I like to cut to the chase and get to the root of things, and especially when you're doing a video here, because don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste my time, and quite frankly, that's just the kind of guy I am. If we're looking at the landscape of tabletop RPGs, we know, if we're being honest with ourselves, that Black people are an anomaly. I mean, for crying out loud, I am a Black man that has an RPG channel on YouTube. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to give me a link in the comments below of another Black man or Black people in general, who have their own RPG channels. Just give me one in the links below. I mean, we have a small community to begin with, and I'm sure that I'm an anomaly, right? You don't have a lot of Black people playing tabletop role-playing games. And case in point, let me give you an example. When Critical Role first came out, and Matt Mercer's on the side, and you got all this text scrolling and everything, and we've got our 6 people and 6 players, and we're getting ready to play, and we're getting ready to get down into this. How many Black people were a part of that? How many? I'll wait. Bueller. Yeah, exactly. Not a one. Now, it wasn't until later to where, oh man, this thing is picking up some speed, and it got a little bigger. Then we started to see a little bit of, there was one over here and one over there. As a matter of fact, it was recently I was on there and I saw this Black young lady on there who was GMing. And me, who've been playing for 35 years, I'm going, what is going on? And so I had to click on that for that reason alone, just to see what was up. Now I only stayed there for like a minute and a half. I don't watch Critical Role, by the way, but I was looking at it and I was like, well, ain't that something? Now understand something. I'm looking at it as like, wow, this is something else because it's rare. And we know that it is. It's not only, I mean, especially a black woman, let alone a black person at all. Now we know that's true. So let's not try to front on that. We know that's true. The thing that we have to ask is, why is it true? Why is that a thing? Why is that a reality? Well, I'm gonna give you 4 of them today. 4 reasons why black people don't play tabletop RPGs. So let's get started. Reason number 1, ignorance. Ignorance. I mean, this is kind of prevalent throughout all cultures. I mean, across the board. People just don't know what an RPG is. They've never heard of it. And you don't know what you don't know. I'll give you an example. Every Monday morning, well, not every Monday morning because of all the craziness that's been going on, but on Monday mornings, normally, I have a group that I meet with. I have a pastor's group that I meet with. And we sit and we talk and we meet Monday mornings, and then we just kind of hang out after that. And so it was at one of these meetings, because the majority of us are black, and it was at one of these that we were just hanging out. It was afterwards, and we started talking. I just started talking about me running a role-playing game. And I was talking to the other pastor, and he was like, "What are you talking about? What's a role-playing game?" And so I had to explain and educate and inform, and the whole time that I'm talking to him, he's looking at me like deer caught in headlights. He has no clue. He has never heard of anything like this, and actually admitted to me that he'd never heard of anything. He didn't even know that it existed. Now this is after role-playing games have been around for like 40-something years, if not longer. Hello. He never heard of it. Never heard of it. Didn't know nothing about nothing. So ignorance is a part of the equation when it comes to why black people don't play tabletop RPGs. Second reason why black people don't play tabletop RPGs, no interest. They may know about tabletop RPGs. They may have heard of it. They may have been familiar. They might even had somebody who invited them to make a character to try to introduce them to it, or even invited them to sit in on a session, just gave them a character, be like, yeah, come and see what you can do, and just kind of roll with the punch. And they just don't have any interest. It's just not something that interests them. It's not their jam. And so if that's the case, then it is what it is, and you just kind of move on. So no interest in RPGs will be another. Well, now we're getting ready to get into territory that's about to be a little uncomfortable, because these last 2 reasons are reasons that most people don't even think about. These are reasons that is going to make you squirm a little bit, especially from the take that I'm about to present it in. And so in doing this, I'm just forewarning you. And I'm going to say some things that are highly opinionated and also true. So let's get on to the third reason why black people don't play tabletop RPGs, the Black American culture. So when it comes to these kinds of things, Black American culture tends to look at them as not being worthy of being a part of the black culture. As a matter of fact, those in the black community who would find somebody, another black person playing an RPG or whatever, interested in tabletop RPGs, you might hear a term like this. What are you doing? Are you trying to be like white people? That's not black. That's not black. That is the stupidest term. That is so dumb. That's the stupidest term. Weak-minded people use terms like that, and I don't care who you are across the board. whether, you know, you're Caucasian or whether you're black or whatever, using that kind of term, all you are doing is, number one, exposing your weak-mindedness, and number two, exposing that you are really a, quote, racist, which is a term I do not like. It's a misnomer. It is used incorrectly. It's bad. It should be ethnic prejudice. That would be a more accurate term. That is what we should be using, because racist is just outright and wrong. But since we use it in the wrong way all the time, I need to let you guys know I'll use it for your benefit. I'm condescending here, okay? It is those people who say that kind of stupid stuff. It is those people who are normally the racists. So the Black American culture normally thumbs its nose down at those things that hasn't been dominated primarily by Black people. Now, when you go to RPGs, you get one that's dominated by Caucasians. Still, to this day. All right, so you get that, and then you get the whole idea that since that is the case, well, that can't be, quote, black. So any of us who would even go in that direction of having any kind of interest in an RPG, well, there must be something wrong. I mean, we must be trying to be white. And this is normally the position of those who like to call themselves woke. Now, let me tell you something about this term, because it's another misnomer. Number one, they ain't woke. Let me tell you, they are asleep, blind as a bat, and they can't see the forest for the trees. And especially when it comes to this particular thing. And another thing is that they're inconsistent. I mean, those same things which black people dominate, like in sports, for instance, those sports were created by white people. So it's the pot calling the kettle black. Then there's that. One of the things that the black culture in America, so we're just talking about the Black American culture, okay? They're notorious, especially today, notorious for suppressing individualism. I mean, if you are not going along with the drone mentality of the majority of what black people think and what black people are doing, and if you dare dissent from that, well, then you must not be, you ain't black. How many times have you heard this kind of stupid nonsense? And if you haven't, then you've been under a rock someplace and you haven't been paying attention. But the most dangerous kind of black person, is the one who thinks for themselves. I mean, they actually think for themselves, make decisions for themselves. That kind of black person is dangerous. It's kind of true what Thomas Edison said, right? 5% of the people think, 10% think they think, and then the other 85% of the people would rather die than think. And it's those 95% of the people who are screaming at the 5% about who they are and what they're not and all the rest of that nonsense. And when it comes to RPGs, it's the same thing. That's why some black people, they won't openly come out and tell people they're playing RPGs, especially when they're at home or they're at home base. And that's something that they won't do. They either just won't play them altogether, or they will just keep it on the DL, right? And not tell them where they're going for those 5 hours on Thursday night. They just keep it to themselves. You know, I'm just going to hang out with some friends. They'll keep it at that level. They're not going to tell them specifics. Now, this is a reality, believe it or not. It is. Trust me. They're not going to go back and tell them, oh, you know, we're playing an RPG and this is what we're doing. And that's what we're doing now. That's not going to happen. That ain't happening. Trust me on that. That ain't happening. I've been playing RPG since 1984. It might have been 83, but let's say 84, which is 35 years I've been playing RPGs. And this is the one thing that I have never, ever seen. I have never seen gathered around the table a group of all black people playing a tabletop RPG. I have never seen that. That is like trying to discover Bigfoot or a unicorn. I've never seen it, ever. Now, in all my years that I've been playing, I am normally the odd man out. I'm the only black dude in the group, right? The black eyed pea in the rice kind of deal. Always been that way. I think there was one other time where we went over to some dude's house and the group that I was playing with, they said, hey, he said that he'd host it because he wants to be a part of it too. And I was like, okay. So we went over there and I find out, I'm looking at the guy going, oh, dang, this dude's black. He was mixed, but he was black, right? He had a skin tone that was brown. How's that? That's one time. Once. 35 years of being in the RPG community and playing RPGs one time. Once. Right now, I'm in a group where I am, again, the only lone black man. I have somebody who is Hispanic and all the rest are white dudes. The black American culture will look at me and say, oh, that dude's just trying to be white. He's just trying to be down with those guys. So if I were to say the biggest hurdle of why you don't see black people playing tabletop RPGs, this one right here, I believe, is at the root of the problem. It's at the root. But there's another one. There's another one that's tied to this, and it kind of adds extra weight onto it. And so let's get to that one. The fourth reason is religious stigma. Religious stigma. Back in the 1980s and maybe early 90s, there was what the RPG community has dubbed the satanic panic. And so there were allegations and things of the RPG that started it all, which you will never hear me mention on this channel. There were allegations of it being satanic, demonic, or whatever, and these odd things happening with kids, mostly college-age kids, and the things that they were doing being tied to violence and all the rest of this stuff. So that was fueled primarily by the charismatic and Pentecostal church that is dominated by black people. Now, the black church has always been historically tied very closely to the black American community, always has. More so than in other cultures and ethnicities. So it's always been kind of integral as part of the community. And now because of that, when you had these charismatic and Pentecostal circles, and that's what they were saying, now you have this undercurrent that is coming from the church, the spiritual side of things, that is reinforcing the general understanding of the black community in general, which we just talked about in the black culture. And so when you have that undercurrent of them saying, hey, you should avoid RPGs, or you better watch out for that, you have that's a part of it. Well, then now you got a double whammy. And black people will avoid it, not embrace it, look at it with wary eyes. What's going on here? And that becomes the general attitude of the black community, especially a lot of church-going black people. A lot. Trust me on this. Because you say anything, if you even mention the most popular game, they are automatically gonna ixnay that stuff. So here's the question. Should we, as a community, and I'm talking about the RPG community, should we be concerned that there's not a lot of black people who are playing RPGs? I mean, should we go out and just get that token black person and have them be a part of our group so we can yell and scream that we're diverse and pat ourselves on the back and make ourselves feel good so we can assuage some white guilt that we have? That's a rhetorical question, by the way. Of course not. That's a bunch of nonsense. Of course we shouldn't do that. But there is something that we can do. What we can do is educate and inform. And we can tell people more about RPGs. And one of the things that many people in the RPG community, and listen, this is another video, okay? Actually, a lot of these things that I've said in this video could be, you know, could be an offshoot for another one. But one of the things that you know, and you just, listen, y'all know this, but there are so many people who are part of the RPG community that are socially inept. They have no idea how to interact socially with other people on a grand scale. They don't. They have no idea. Same thing with people who play video games, right? Same thing. I mean, they gross themselves in video games because socially and having a direct social connection, that's not there. It's not there. They don't know how. So there's no frame of reference there. So what's a major thing that we can do is educate and inform. Listen, if you know somebody and they're black and you think that they might enjoy something like this, invite them over, do the same thing, you know, have them make a character, have them sit in on a session. Hey, see if this is something that they like, right? And then let the chips fall where they may. I mean, we don't have to do RPG affirmative action here, which is what some people in the RPG community are doing. Again, another video. But there's no such thing. We don't have to do that stuff. I mean, we're actually doing this to have fun, right? But let me take it in this direction. Let's run some numbers, all right? Just on a population standard here in America, okay? So, 12% of the population are made up of black people, right? So let's kind of real generally, translate that over into the RPG community. So you guys are having a game. You got 5, 6 people who are a part of the group in the campaign that you're a part of, right? What are the chances that one of those people is going to be black? 12%, right? So really, it means that you're going to have to at least have 2 groups before a black person is even seen. And I am being generous there because we know that you need far more groups than that before you start seeing your first black person. We know this. This is a thing. We don't want to talk about that, right? And we want to throw a bone sometime to some black person or we like to do that. Ooh. But by and large, we understand we don't have to go out and do that stuff, man. You just go out, you inform people, you tell them about RPGs, you tell them how to have a good time with it. You tell them, listen, if you don't like playing this RPG over here because you're not comfortable with it, there are plenty of RPGs that are fun that you may like. If we are interested in growing the RPG community, then that's the way that we should do it. At least that's the way I think we should do it. What's the way you think we should do it? Comments below. And do you think that, well, these are reasons why black people don't play tabletop RPGs? Now, I happen to know these are the reasons why they don't. But you got another reason? Why don't you go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it, folks. 4 reasons why black people don't play tabletop RPGs. That's going to be it for me in this video. If you've stayed until the end, congratulations. Oh, also, if you have stayed until the end, I haven't said this in a while, so I'm getting ready to say it right now. Smash the like button. Smash that like button, right? And if you liked what you've seen here today, go ahead and subscribe. So until next time, you know how it is. Hey, exit, stage left. So until next time, happy gaming.